Alright, welcome back to Adobe Illustrator CC and Adobe Photoshop CC. So this is the last tutorial of the zombie outbreak image. We left off in Photoshop here, and I decided to go back in Illustrator to add some extra blood splatter. By the way, in the zombie outbreak warning here, I've added a layer mask to each layer and kind of scribbled out a couple areas. I also increased the size of the danger, adjusted the sizing here, and added an overlay layer to the danger sign there. So if I scroll down to, I believe it's this layer. No, it is, I believe, this one. Yeah. Here's the color overlay. It just brightened it up a little bit, kind of matched the rest of the image a little bit better. Alright, so in Illustrator, I am creating these splatter effects. Where are they located in? The brush palette. If you go to the library and go down to artistic and choose artistic ink, there's a bunch of these that quite honestly have sort of a splatter effect, kind of like blood. So as I click here and splatter, I can basically create this effect. And I've just basically chosen sort of a red color for this. I'll most likely do a color overlay of everything, but let me select all this and copy, go back to Photoshop and paste. Again, as a smart object, click OK. And I'm going to increase the size of this. Let's see, maybe rotate a little bit. Let's see, maybe something like that. I don't know. Don't want it to line up exactly the same as the other ones. Maybe I'll come down a little bit further. Something like that. And hit return. So what I want to do is actually drag this layer to the top, and I want to add a new layer right above it. And I'm going to command click or control click on the thumbnail and make it active so that I can essentially paint in this with some colors. So I'm just switching to paintbrush, making the brush big, and then essentially just selecting some colors in here to paint this blood splatter, something kind of a blood red, and then hit Control D to deselect. And then with this layer selected, I'm going to double click on it and add some effects. I might do a bevel emboss, and this one choose the emboss. Let's see, or maybe the pill emboss. And let's see, create like a little effect here. Smooth is the option we want. Yeah, I want kind of like a highlight effect on it. Just a little bit. Something like that. It doesn't have to be too much, but that kind of gives you kind of like a splatter effect. We could try other ones. Let's see, outer bevel. What that one would look like. Inner bevel. Actually, inner bevel looks pretty good. That kind of gives me a blood splatter effect. And then maybe an inner shadow on this one. So let me scroll down to inner shadow. Basically apply a little bit of shadow here. It's got quite a bit from the last one. And click OK. And then lastly, what I want to do is change this blend mode to maybe overlay, or let's see, some other blend mode, multiply. Basically, what I'm going to just do is kind of roll through these different blend modes until I see something that looks kind of cool, that I like the reaction. I don't want the lighten ones. Let's see. Hard light actually looks pretty good. It's got kind of a nice, kind of jelly color like blood splatter. But I am thinking I might move this in a different location. Let's turn off the original. And whoop, looks like I noticed something here. These two colors are working well together. So let me group this layer, and now I can move it as one whole unit. I just want to move it in a slightly different location. So maybe something like that. And then I'm going to drop the opacity a little bit, make it a little more transparent. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Alright, so last thing I want to do with this is add a new layer at the very top, and then do this weird hotkey, Control Shift Alt and E. That is Command Shift Option E on a Mac, and that basically creates a merge duplicate copy. I'm going to go ahead and right click and duplicate that layer again. Click OK. Now I have two duplicate layers. And what I can do is switch to my paintbrush, choose a soft brush, and choose a blend mode that it can do some interesting things. So the color dodge mode is really cool. What I'm going to do is select a light kind of color, drop the opacity around 20%. And what color dodge will do is it'll actually brighten up the scene. So I can choose areas to brighten. Like maybe there's this, weird kind of highlight that comes through and passes along here as if sun's kind of dripping across here on this sidewalk here. So I can choose to illuminate some of those areas. Now, then I can switch to the color burn layer, which is going to do the opposite. It's going to essentially darken those areas. So as I click, you'll see it's very drastic, very dramatic. Let me actually drop it to 10%. I'm doing that just by hitting the 1 key there. And now I can sort of darken and sort of strengthen up, and basically create a little more contrast in here for the zombie outbreak. Take it a little bit too far, it's okay. I can always eventually drop the entire opacity of this layer. And that's sort of the goal, is to somewhere get in between there, because basically if I turn this off, you'll see here's the original and here's the heightened one. I think the heightened one's a little bit too extreme, but a little bit goes a long ways. Kind of digging that. Let's see. Let's go ahead and maximize my scene by hitting the F key a couple times. Get rid of those rulers by hitting Control R, Command R on the Mac, and then hit Control 0 or Command 0 to maximize my scene. And there it is, the danger sign for the zombie outbreak warning. So that concludes all these tutorials. You could keep painting to your heart's content. If I had a pin pressure pin, I could definitely do a lot more with it. But overall, I'm very satisfied with the end results. Until next time, see you soon in Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator CC. Cheers!